Statistically, what we know is that almost 80% of people who don't go to church don't mind talking about faith with somebody that they know, as long as they know the person's faith is sincere. What could happen if in your relationships, at the end of a conversation, you offered to pray for somebody? I want to give you your bless challenge for the week, all right? So the first one, and I'm going to have you say this with me after I say it, B stands for begin with prayer. Let's say that together. Begin with prayer. This first way to bless people is all about prayer. Now, I want to just time out because I just have to call out, it feels like a little bit of a cop-out that B stands for begin. Like that seems, I'm a little disappointed, frankly, that it is. All the other letters, L-E-S-S, like I said, those are the word. Those can be really easy to remember, but I feel like the Fergusons kind of phoned it in a little with this, with the begin. But I get it, like prayer should come first, and like bless isn't a word, so I get like why they would do that. But we're going to get back to it here. So begin with prayer. Now, for those of you that are going to go through the book, you've got to know that the conversation about prayer in the book is much broader than what we're going to do right here. But for today, I want to just give you a super specific, measurable challenge when it comes to prayer. And I'm going to give you some more context for that in just a minute. But first, I want to tell you what the challenge is. All right, here it is. Every day this week, as you're in conversation with people, whether that's somebody that you know or just somebody that you cross paths with, offer to pray for them out loud right then. And also do it. Like if they say yes, do it. Don't just offer, but do it. Although offering is half the battle. As you go about your day and you find yourself kind of talking to people every day, at least once a day, we're challenging you to pray for that person before the conversation is over. Now, I know some of you might be trying to picture yourself doing that right now. And your pulse is racing and you're getting all sweaty, like I was saying before. You might even be a little bit freaked out. I would say, hey, stick with me here. It's going to be okay. I want to tell you about my friend Jay. Jay is a financial advisor. He and Chris met when they were in college, so we've all become friends. He's a Christian, and so he has a deep desire to introduce people to Jesus. And it's not just about being a converter, but he really wants to bless them, be a friend to them. And so when he's meeting with people about their finances, inevitably what happens quite a bit is people kind of share something hard. I mean, money is emotional, and so they kind of share. And he finds that they're pretty vulnerable with him. And he finds that they kind of let him in a little bit to the reality of what's going on in their life. And so quite often, what Jay's practice has been is at the end of their time together, if he feels like it would be a fitting, he just offers to pray for them when their meeting is over. And he's just a regular guy in a regular job asking somebody if they wouldn't mind if he prayed for them. And Jay has been in this practice for a long time, and no one has ever turned him down. Statistically, what we know is that almost 80% of people who don't go to church don't mind talking about faith with somebody that they know, as long as they know the person's faith is sincere. So, most of the people in your life who don't go to church don't mind talking with you about faith as long as they know that your faith is real. I called Jay this week and I was like, hey, Jay, with all this praying that you've been doing all these years, has it ever turned into more than that? And he said, oh yeah, a lot of times. He told me about this older couple that he's been working with for several years. And when they first came, like I said, they shared some deeper things. And so he asked at the end of their time if he could pray for them. And they said yes. And so he stayed in conversation with them and in relationship with them, continuing to pray. And eventually the wife got sick. And he walked with them as she had to go to a nursing home and into assisted living, always offering to pray for them always saying yes. Now, the thing about this couple is they didn't go to church. How Jay described it to me was they were estranged from church. They used to go a long time ago, but they didn't anymore. So in a way, Jay became like the person of faith in their life that they really trusted because they felt and knew that he cared about them. And all of that started with him simply offering to pray. Well, eventually the wife had to go into hospice, and they knew that she didn't have a lot of time left. And they asked Jay if he would do her memorial service. And he said yes, and he went and met with her and spent a few hours with her, just hearing more about her life, getting to know their family, and so in that got even closer to them. And in the years since her passing and him doing that memorial, now he knows multiple generations in that family. And he's walking with them and helping and just paying attention to what they're saying and offering to pray with them. Something as simple as a sincere prayer for someone based on real compassion and a genuine desire to go to God on someone's behalf is a really tangible way to bless somebody in your life. What would happen? What could happen if in your relationships at the end of a conversation you offered to pray for somebody? Now, if you're somebody who's really comfortable with this, like this is sitting really well with you, I want you to start thinking about who could that be? Who are the people in your life who are not people of faith that maybe you could be more intentional about this with? But there's, like I said, some of you that this feels like way out of your comfort zone, and you're already like, I am not going to apply this message today, bye. And I get it. If I could just push back on it a little. I know it's got to be really intimidating when you don't know what someone's going to say. And when somebody does let you into the very real burdens that they're carrying, it can feel like, what do you even say? What do you say? How do you pray for somebody who told you that they have cancer? Like, is it okay to pray for healing? What if they don't get healed? I just want you to know that it is okay to not know. Your sincerity, your vulnerability, your being able to show your very real faith is the most important thing. That is where the power of that prayer is going to be. It's not in you saying all the right words or being really profound or being really well spoken. It's going to come because you're listening and you're engaged in their life and you want to just talk to God about them, with them. I mean, can you imagine if we all did this week? We usually have around 500, give or take, people that come on a Sunday. In addition, throughout the week, we'll have a couple hundred more who watch online. So let's just say we have about 700 people who are going to hear this challenge this week. If every person prayed every day for one person, that's almost 5,000 prayers that wouldn't have happened before. 5,000 people who were impacted because we want them to experience Jesus. If this is something that's brand new for you, can I say just try it? Anything you do is going to be a blessing for somebody. And I believe when you do something risky that is on God's behalf, I believe you become stronger. You become more courageous, and somehow it blesses you in the process. So, the challenge this week is every day. So 7 times before we're back next, every day, be watching, be listening. Who can you pray for? And then offer to pray for them right then. So what you're going to find is this is either going to be people that you know that are in your proximity, or it might be somebody that your path crosses that day. You just come across them. You don't know them, and you might never see them again. I want to talk about that just for a second. There is this morning prayer that I've been doing like fairly consistently for the last few years, and it has this one sentence that I love, and it says this: help me to welcome those who will be part of my day. And the more that I've been praying that prayer, the more that I've become open and aware of whoever I cross paths with. And I've been trying to practice what I preach. And so for the last year or so, I've been trying to do this where I ask if I could pray for them, even if it feels a little bit awkward. A few months ago, I found myself sitting at O'Hare Airport in Chicago at the gate to a very delayed flight with a woman next to me. And so we got to talking. I know it's shocking to think I could pick up a conversation with a stranger. But we got to talking as you do. And it turns out she was flying out here to move to Napa with her daughter and her grandson. She had lost her husband of many years earlier that year. She had just done a big auction with all the things in their house of 40 years, sold the home that she raised her family, and this was a big, whole new chapter. And when we went to go and they finally called our gate, I just said, hey, can I pray for you real quick? And here's the thing, I'll probably never see Helen again, but I think she felt loved in that moment. I think she felt listened to. So some of the prayers this week in your life are gonna be for people that you don't know, and you might never see them again. Now I gotta say, for those of you that feel a little scared, this is a great thing because, if your prayer sucks, that's fine. You're never gonna see them again. But some of the prayers this week that you're gonna do are gonna be for people in your life, people you see a lot, people you're in relationship with. A few weeks back, I was pulling out of my driveway and my neighbor was pulling in from her job, and so we did the thing where you just stop, and I rolled down the window and we just talked for a couple of minutes. And in that time, she shared with me that she had some worries about her job because she loves this job, but they were gonna be changing her schedule. And it was really going to wreak havoc on her childcare schedule that, as any of you know that have little ones, is so challenging. And she just sort of felt that anxiety and that worry about how is this going to get solved? And I didn't know how to solve it for her. I don't even think I said anything helpful. But at the end, I just said, hey, can I pray for you real quick? She said, yeah. So we just reached across, I reached across the passenger seat. We held hands for a second and prayed. And this is somebody I'm in relationship with. This is somebody that I get to find out how it's going. How did it go? What else can I pray for? The thing is, we don't have any control in our day who we're going to run into, but we do have control about how intentional we're going to be with the people in our lives, the people that you are in close proximity to, that you have a relationship with, and you know that they do not yet know Jesus. These are the primary people that, as we go through this series, we want you to be thinking about them because we want you to be intentional. Because remember, each week, you're going to get a practice that you're going to practice. And so it's going to be way more meaningful if you do that with people that are consistent in your life that might not know Jesus, as ways for you to bless them. And let me just say this too, just kind of full disclosure. If you opt not to try the practice this week because it feels scary, you're not going to be ready to do what we're going to ask you to do later in the series. Because there does come a time in your relationship with somebody where you do tell them about Jesus. And maybe you share your own story of faith. If you're going to fully live out the mission that Jesus gave us to tell people, you eventually got to tell people. But when you do that in the context of a trusted relationship with somebody, it's not awkward, it's real. So if you can commit to this week's practice, you're gonna be all the more ready for the weeks to come.